Awesome. Awesome. We are live. So, welcome everyone. Welcome to today's Elevating Conversations. My name is Tziporah from TziporahIntimacy.com. I am an intimacy and relationship educator, but today I am here as your host of the Elevating Conversations. And before we move on and I hand over the baton to our special guest, Suzanne Raja, I want to ask the viewers as you chime in that if you feel called, if this conversation is going to nourish your heart and your body and your voice, to just share this with your community while we're live today. And if you want to actually comment today and have questions answered or just share as well your personal journey right now on the planet, you're going to want to come over to the Soulful Relating Institute with Tziporah, because that's actually the only place I'm going to see your comments that we can actually answer those questions. So now I would love to introduce the topic of today. So welcome, Suzanne. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. So I'm going to share a bit about Suzanne, but I want to share first, what intrigued me to start this conversation is I recently saw a bunch of your lives, Suzanne, and on the topics of racism and social justice, but more because the way that you delivered them, like this welcoming in our fumbles and our mishaps and maybe not knowing what to say but wanting to say something, like inviting in those conversations, were very attractive for me. And I was just like, I want to get you on this live to invite that conversation into more people's lives and living rooms. And me personally, I'm just like, oh my God, I want to be more part of that conversation, because I have so much to learn, and I want to be an open book to just absorb much more today on the planet. So thank you. And so Suzanne Raja has dedicated her life to embracing, embodying, and empowering soul radiance in life, in love, and social impact. Susan, along with her husband, Satyen Raja, is the co-founder of WarriorSage, the multi-million-dollar transformational leadership academy that has trained over 100,000 people worldwide. And I'm going to let her speak much more into her why and her passion and what she's doing on the planet today. But I just want to thank you for the way that my interpretation of you is the way that you embody the teachings. I'm such a felt sense woman. And so feeling it come through you, I really appreciate that. And I would love you to just share more about what you're doing on the planet, your work, and your passion in what you're doing. Why did you start doing what you do?
Thank you, and thank you for having me. What am I doing? What's my passion? My passion is love, and it's always been that. Love at the deepest form of love. What love means, what love is, it has been my study and my passion. Nothing else has mattered, really. Empowerment and truth is another value that I hold dear and is also a passion of mine. And it is what I help to arise in our clients, those that work with us as clients, as leaders in our work. It's about empowering people to find the truth within themselves, and then anchor to that truth, and then live from that place of truth and love. And, it's just such a beautiful sense of fulfillment. And why wouldn't anyone want to live any other way when they find this? And so what I do is I help people to find this and to live this in their life.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that. And I love that because right from that place, what I'm getting is that from that place of love you're speaking of, when we tap into that resourced well, we can really approach anything. And when if I'm in that space, I'll just use my own stories, I can make clear decisions. Yes. Even in disagreement, right? It's just I can feel anger in that place and still feel the love and openness and willingness. So I love that. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to choice. We are unlimited beings with choice. And when you can realize that you have choice and take responsibility from your choice, from the place of, as you say, and it's so true, resourced, meaning you have drawn upon the truth that is from within you, and you are living from that place unapologetically, because it is true. You are aligned to the truth of who you are. And when you can do that from a place of love, then you're unstoppable. And it's not apologetic in any way. Yes, you have to learn as you go along, unless you're going to be a fossil, but grow and learn and be and express yourself fully without holding back. That's how you live life. You know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Oh, so much richness to get into today. So amidst everything, the unrest, I call it the global shakeup that's happening today, the wake up that's happening today. What are some personal, let's start personal, like what are some personal edges that you've been exploring for yourself?
Yeah, so many, as we all have, you know. Oh, goodness. Okay, where do I begin? Really? Always begin at home, you know, from home, from, again, yourself. Come back to you. How are you feeling? So, how am I feeling through this? Torn, raveled, mangled, you know, hopeful, joyful, in wonderment. All those things are going on inside of me. All of those things are going on inside my household, because my husband and I have, I've birthed, we have brought into life two very powerful human beings who have tested us and continue to test us as we go along to see, are you as enlightened as you show up to be? Are you really living from your truth? And that's, when you ask what I've been going through, I have been going through those questions, not only my own self, but from my own children who have said, listen, you don't know everything that there is to know. Here's more. And rather than closing my eyes and saying, no, you don't know as much as I do, I've opened my eyes, and my eyes have been opened by them and by others who are saying, there is more. There is more that you need to see and awaken to. And so, as much as I know, as much as I have been through and I've progressed in my life, there's still more to learn. And this is what I'm faced with. It's a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So much. So much. I was watching the conversation you all were having with Starla the other day, and talk about so much to learn. When she spoke that comment about, if you were raised in America, you were raised racist consciously or unconsciously, and I was definitely one of the unconscious ones, yeah. Like, I think of the way that my heart is, the way that I live. I remember as a young child, I was confused by borders. I didn't understand borders. I didn't understand how a human could put a border on a piece of land, and that created so much fear in people. And then we were different, and I just didn't get that. And I never, in my body, it was never this conscious thing that I saw color, like, as a difference. And so over the past couple of weeks, like, reflecting on that, for me, it was coming from a place of love, like part of my language. But when I unpacked that, it was like, wow, like, that was also a blind spot. It's like, wow, that could have created like this lack of awareness as well, or lack of empathy or understanding what people of color, what they're going through. And even saying that, and this is something I want to bounce onto you, because this is where the confusion comes in for me. And as our viewers, I'm sure so many relate to this, is I'm just like, even saying that, in my view, which it's probably not true, I'm thinking, well, isn't that bad to even say that? Because that means I'm applying, there's a difference. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right in my heart because I don't see a difference. So I just want to toss out those ideas to you and have you bounce off of that.
Oh, I'm smiling because I know you and I know your heart and how big it is. And I am sure your listeners, those that are drawn to you, have hearts like that as well, and there's so much to this. There's so much to this because there's a fear. I mean, I've had wonderful people write to me and say, I'm afraid to ask certain questions because I'm afraid that if I ask those questions or I say certain things, I'm going to be slammed. I'm going to be called a racist. I'm going to be, told, how can I say that? And so that's why podcast interviews like this are so good, so rich for us to be able to talk about things that may be difficult and also speak about things and be able to hear the answers so that you can start to learn and become aware. Okay. So with saying that, some people may say, oh, if you say, I don't see color, how can you not see color? Of course there's color, One of the things that Starla in the interview that we had with her had me awaken and realize is that we were talking about white privilege as well. That was the word that was used. And it's similar to what you're saying in I don't see color. Because someone may say to you, well, the reason you don't see color is because you have white privilege. But when that word comes up as white privilege, I did a whole video on this. It was like, that sounds like an attack. That sounds like someone saying, well, you have white privilege. How dare you have white privilege is what it may be felt like. But what it actually is that the reason why you or people who say that or feel that they've never seen color is because you've never had to experience the other side of that. Where if you are someone of color, you may have to have a conversation with your kids about, well, I'll say it. I mean, I have some friends that just had a baby, a little baby boy, and they're white. And they were showing this beautiful baby on Facebook and as the baby is going to grow. And I looked at that and I thought, you're never going to have the conversation with your child about if you get pulled over by a police officer, you're going to have to forget that you have rights in the world. And you're going to have to plead for your life because of the color of your skin. And so the people who have color, have pigment, I'm one of them. We have to think about this all the time because of what could happen because you have that color. And so when it's heard of, well, I don't see color, it's not like I'm mad at you. It's just that I'm saying, well, you can't see color because you don't have to think about color. You don't have to think about that. That's the answer to that question. And the other answer to it is from where you're coming from, which is this kind heart and this soul that sees everyone as human, which is, and I too, I feel the same way, but it's a privileged place to be because you don't have to worry about the other side of that.
Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, having this turnaround around privilege, because I can see, like, I've been in conversations as well where people were feeling guilty over having privilege. And I'm just like, no, I don't think that's, I could feel, I could feel it at times, that sharpness in my heart, but it's like, if I get into a place of realizing it's not about me and investigating that further, and like what I'm hearing you say about privilege, it's like, one, it is an opportunity to be able to do something different, right? What are we going to do with it?
It is. And I'm glad you brought up the piece of those who feel guilty for having privilege. Okay. So understand that you may be feeling guilty for having privilege because you may have taken the word white privilege as an attack.
Yeah.
And I was one of those people too. I'm not white, but I actually took it as an attack. When I heard it first, I thought, I felt it as an attack, and I felt my white brothers and sisters feeling it that way too, which was strange because I'm a woman of color, but I actually, like everyone, I could feel. You can, for a second, if you're feeling guilty for it, realize that you are absolutely in the highest realm. You have nothing to be guilty about. You're a beautiful child of the universe, like everyone is. And you probably lived a really good life and you haven't hurt people. And so this isn't part of saying you've hurt people or an attack on you. This is simply saying that you have the ability to have lived a life that others have not. And can you just help the others to have what you have too? Because we're all one family is what the plea is actually. It's a plea. Can you help us as well to have the same rights that you do? Or could you awaken and make sure, even more so, rather than help, can you make sure that we don't have to see color either?
Yeah.
That everyone has a privilege.
Yeah. And, I find this as an opportunity to start raising the awareness. And I just want to put some notes out there, and I'll just have you keep chiming off of this. And, another thing I got from the conversation with Stella, which I just loved, she was a gem. But again, it was reflecting, I'm going to put this out there because it wasn't in my awareness, is she invited us to reflect on our upbringing and the shows that we watched and our surroundings. And, I was raised middle class, family, but all the shows that we watched, like I wouldn't even thought there wasn't like an ounce of color, a person in any of those shows. Like these are little things, but they're huge, but it's something I wouldn't even have thought of. And the idea that I think you'd probably have the facts on this more than I, but the colleges that were originally founded, I think it was by KKK members. I don't know if that's correct. I'm just grabbing on some notes in my head. Could you just share more on that? I find it's building awareness for me to learn this stuff. It allows me to like, okay, now like there's more empathy, compassion. Now, I find it's a step in the direction.
Yeah. To be honest, I don't know the answer to that question.
Yeah.
I don't, but for any question that you have, we have access to the world on our iPhones. If you don't have a laptop, you can go to your iPhone, go on to Google it. Any question you have, the answer will present itself. Here's the thing. One of the things that Starla was saying, which was about education, and how we will change our consciousness is through educating ourselves. And I asked her the question at that time. I said, okay, so here's a question that I have for you, and a lot of people have asked of me, where is the first step? What's the first step? Where do I go first to look so that I'm getting the right information and I don't look like, someone that's uneducated that doesn't get it, and I don't have that awareness. And I wrote something down, what she had said, because the words were such pearls. She said, not to know is bad. Not to wish to know is worse. Not to wish to know is worse. So if we could just let that in for a second. Because the idea behind that is, it's not necessarily that we don't want to know or we don't know where to look. It's that we're afraid that when we do look, we might find things that we don't want to look at. We don't want to lean into. And that's really scary. And especially for us who have done the personal development work, we've done work on ourselves. We've looked in so many corners and crevices and we've cleaned out house. So we're ready to move forward. We do not, it hurts us to have to look back on places where we could be unconscious, or there could have been pain caused by maybe family members
Mm.
in the past, or maybe in us being unconscious, hearing conversations and never speaking up, or it's frightening. And me, even myself, knowing that I did not educate myself as I could have about the atrocities that have happened, and educated my children in turn about that. You know, there are so many ways that we can look and go, well, I didn't do this, I didn't do that. Really take a breath. You were doing the best that you could where you're at. And now the responsibility from choice, from taking care of yourself first. You can only help others by putting on your oxygen mask first, taking care of yourself, loving yourself, and then from choice being willing to look in places where you're afraid to look, with the intention of helping your human family.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the opportunity.
Yeah. Helping our human family. Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Feeling feeling the uncomfortable. Something that I recognize, like for me, to like feeling everything. I have a history that I went through something and I just got to the point that I want to feel everything, because if I don't, I'm not going to feel even the pleasure.
Mm.
But what I'm recognizing now even is the importance of feeling it all, but also being able to be present to it all. Whether that's the anger or the rage and the pain and the sadness and the grief. And something that I've been kind of conversing about internally was knowing when to lean into that, right? When the nerve, like knowing your nervous system, knowing when to lean into that and knowing when to resource. We started the conversation with being resourced, but resourcing enough so then we can go back in and lean into those uncomfortable places. But the importance, like we have to feel what's going on inside, I think all of us right now. We have to be present to that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
We have to be able to be in a place where we have to come from a place of self-care. Self-care, when I speak about love being one of the most important things ever to me, love has to start at home. Love has to start with yourself. And what is that? That's taking some time to go inside and say, what do you need, beloved? What do you need right now? Well, what you might need is rest. What you might need is to be eating better. What you might need is to be held. And especially in this time, I mean, this time is coupled with isolation, to make it even worse. This is people are so tender. They're wanting to be held so badly. And then now this hits, and it's finding a way that you can hold yourself. Tell yourself you love yourself and love in on you. And knowing that you are here for a reason and you're valuable. Give that to yourself first and foremost. And then from that place, take a breath and go, okay, I'm ready to make connection. And in that connection, it's about feeling, leaning into what may be uncomfortable. Lean in as far as you can and be willing to soften the front surface of your body. Because when you soften the front surface of your body, you're really able to make contact and feel. And things that hurt, feel it. Feel it. It won't kill you to feel. It might kill inside of you that part that is unwilling to feel. But feel, feel, feel. And then take a breath. And then if you need to resource, go back and do that. And then come back again and feel. And at some point, if you really feel, not resist, but really feel, something else will occur. And it will be something that will be higher. Look for something, a feeling that's higher than the one that you're in. and feel that. And then higher and higher. It's eventually taking you to the stairway to heaven, but you must be willing to feel fully and completely without holding back. And in that, there's a gift.
Ah, I love this conversation. Yeah, it's great. So I'm curious, like personally, when we speak of diversity or the racism, let's just kind of go into that. Is do you have personal story to share with our viewers, just to also just bring greater awareness as well as what that's like in like in your nervous system, in the body?
Yes, I have
Yeah.
several. Um, one that I like to share, I share this one, is that I was born in Jamaica, Kingston, Jamaica. And in Jamaica, I did not know racism because everyone looked like me and everyone spoke like me. And we all just hung out, and at school and, in life, we really had a good life. Then when we had to move to Canada, we moved for various reasons. So we moved to Canada and I was all excited. Yay, we're going to Canada now. All right. Home of the awesomeness. So moved to Canada, and right away when I started school, I started getting teased for looking different. So my hair was different, and my accent was different. And I got really teased a lot for that. And I was called the N-word quite a lot. So I was like, what's happening? I just really, here I am, this loving being. I wanted to make friends, and I was called these names. And even the teachers said nothing. Even I'd come and tell the teachers, and they said nothing. So there was no help. And so I got called nigger. Then I got called Paki because I have a look that's not so completely one way, so I could get called for the others. Paki meaning Pakistani Indian. So I got called that as well for a while, and they were just calling me. I got used to it. It was like, oh, here's this name. And then someone called me German at one point. You ran out of the N word and the P word, and then now it's you German. And I was like, okay, something's off, not with me, but over there. Yeah. And I started to recognize that it wasn't about me, that I was completely not being understood, and something was wrong. Something was really wrong. And inside of me, I always knew that there was something really fantastic, that others would want to get to know me. And I made really good friends at those hard times, people who really connected with me from my soul. And still to this day, they're friends. But what I came to understand was just such a misunderstanding of truly who I am in my soul, my being, and that they didn't see me as a being. They saw me as a color, as a something else. And so to me, that's where we don't meet, and where there's a possibility to meet. Yeah. I have other stories, so many others of, but hopefully this is a teaching.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for just sharing that really personal story with us.
For asking.
Yeah. At this place of, like, I hear you, like, not understanding and not being able to eat. Like, I see that, like, when you say that, I can see that, like, that line, like that barrier. And this place of even taught racism, I've seen pictures going by, just brutal things, on social network, and children imitating their parents who, teaching the upbringing and how systemic it is and how far back it goes. And right, there's so many layers to that, like trying to get to the root to create the changes, because it goes so far and deep. And I think that key piece is we need to get to a place, or the focus is getting to a place where we can clear through that barrier and want to understand.
Yeah. Yeah, it is so true. And again, beautiful interviews like the one that we're doing here, and with you having such concern and wanting to share with your viewers and those who listen about these issues is so valuable. Um, I want to say that there's such a sadness that happens inside of me that goes on. And I'll tell you where the sadness comes from. The sadness comes from the place of, if those that have prejudiced against others because of the color of their skin understood just how much more love they could have in their life, just how much more opportunities for joy that could be possible because of others that they may not understand, or they may be fearful for because of stereotypes that have not been tested. There's a sadness inside, because I just imagine to myself, if someone is prejudiced against me for having a color of my skin, then they're unable to feel just how much I could truly love them, how much I could truly cheer them on and say, you're amazing, or all the things that I could share with them. They would be missing out on that because they've seen through the eyes of darkness. And that if only they could just tune in and listen to podcasts like this, or if those maybe who are listening may have a family member that doesn't understand, what I would say is try and reach out to someone of color and get to know them, get to actually open your eyes and investigate for your own self, and test those stereotypes by getting to know the person, getting to really know the person, and you'll start to see how similar we really all are, and how much opportunity there is for more love, more happiness, more joy, if we just include each other on the playground, instead of just like, oh, you over there, you go over there. We could have so much more fun, so much more happiness, and everyone can be brought to the table now and enjoy this meal that is for us all.
Yes, more love. I just saw like this giant pie, just more pie, right? Just celebrate it, share it, and and the willingness to get to know. And what came to me was even if people like the adventure or the challenges, some people have that personality. See it as a challenge. Challenge yourself to go knock on your neighbor's door, get to know a different race and sit with them, and what gifts and wisdom in that, and feel what you feel that comes up with that.
Yeah.
Right? Even the uncomfortability, like if it's uncomfortable for you, it's new for you, don't ignore that, but do it.
Don't
Do
ignore
it.
that. Is very good. Feel it. If you're afraid of someone of color, because maybe in your life you were taught that people of color have this or this going on, or the stereotypes, and you're afraid, recognize that in yourself. Love on yourself for that. Don't make yourself wrong for having had that, because it may be very true in your feelings from what you've been brought up with. And then also, from that place, get curious. Get curious, and if you choose to have a life that could be more magical than where it's at right now, and I'm saying that's the possibility, you can choose to step one step at a time. Do a little reading, do a little investigation of your own, and then meet someone that's different. That could be your very best friend. That could be one of your mentors, who knows, and could take you to a place that I want to say that your very fear is that very opportunity for you to cross the rainbow to the other side. And the gold that's waiting for you over there is more than you could imagine. I've personally done it in my own life,
Yeah.
on the other side. And it's a beautiful opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I always loved walking towards fear. I had a Kabbalistic teacher that his words were, the door of fear, when you walk through the door of fear, what lies on the other side is always your greatest miracle. Similar to the rainbow. Yes.
Absolutely.
And I swear by that. I swear I've never been let down. I've never been let down. So yes, to the viewers, step through that fear and feel it and trust what's coming on the other side.
Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
do you have any I know you shared a lot of wisdom and offerings, but are there any favorite research books? I know there's so many. People can get on Google and do their own research, but are there any particular books or documentaries that just stand out for you that are your favorite right now to really explore these topics?
It's a good question. Um, Go to Netflix right now
Yeah.
and there's a documentary called 13th,
Mhm.
about the 13th Amendment and why the 13th Amendment is supposed to be powerful for, every American, and why it is not
Mm.
being it's not a source of safety
Mm.
for those that are people of color.
Oh,
Go to that.
yeah.
I want to suggest that right now. I
Yeah.
I don't pretend to have a lot of resources of where to go for books. I am still looking. I'm still learning. And like I said, for me, my subject has been love. And even as I watched television shows like you, one of my favorite shows was Little House on the Prairie. Growing up
Yeah.
watching that, for those of you who remember, because it was all about love and family and all of this. And I don't think there was a Black person on there, but I didn't see that. I didn't see because I felt this was my family. And I'm telling you this because I also didn't study a lot about Black history.
Yeah.
And to try and come up with the best thing to read and the best thing to discover, I'm discovering it alongside with you.
Mhm.
And there are people that have said to me, Suzanne, how can you say that? Do you realize that you are in a leadership position and you should know this and this and this? Actually, if I was to wait until I knew what I think I'm supposed to know, I probably wouldn't be talking to you right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know what I know. What I know is love. And I'll tell you this, no matter what it is that you go and read and study and research, you must come from what is your highest value?
Mhm.
And if it is love, like it is for me, it will transcend your fear of taking the next step. It will transcend your fear of, I don't know enough, so I can't move forward. It will transcend your fear and it will melt it and have you step over the bridge onto the other side, because love is bigger than any fear that you may have. And love for humanity, if that is true for you, if it is true for you in any way, shape, or form, you will find the resources that will help you to get to the other side.
Mhm. 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 Thank you for inviting us to take action. Yeah, and follow that path of love. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Do you have any final shares, any words that you want to leave our viewers with today?
Mm. Action steps.
Mhm.
Action steps. So, for those of you who are white
Yeah.
and you want to do something, go and speak to people who are in places of authority.
Mhm.
Speak to the police officers that are close to you. or that you know. And first and foremost, honor them for who they are and what they bring, because they are modern day warriors. They do what no one else really wants to do. They get out there and they are supposed to be protecting and serving, and thank them for that. And then with a flower, and when I say a flower, I mean a gentle flower of invitation. Ask them to please eject anyone that is not living their code of serve and protect. And ask them to please do that, because you have the privilege as someone that is white to be able to speak to police officers in ways that those people of color do not have that privilege as yet. We can march, we can, say what is wrong in marches and in gatherings, but in places like police stations, officers, and all of that, we don't have that ability to be able to speak in the way that you do. So if you really want to do something, if you really want to put your words behind, if you want to really take action, do that. Speak out. Do what you can do without getting killed.
Yeah. Yeah. What an amazing invitation. And just feeling a lot of sadness that all color can't do that we can't just all have a voice. But I appreciate as well the awareness around that, inviting us who can to step into that place for all of us.
For all of us, including those good officers.
Yeah.
And there are so many who really want to have their name not be tarnished by those who don't get it. And so it is for all of us, for the highest and the best of humanity.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for all the wisdom, for the love, for the invitations, and for encouraging all of us to take action. And thank you for being here. And I want to just leave our viewers with today as well that take action even if you don't know. Have the conversations. I'm being reminded through these conversations that to speak even if you think you're going to fumble. Don't be scared of making mistakes. Take that first step to just have the conversations, because that's one step closer to creating something different. And so I thank the viewers for being here with us today as well. And be well.